Hey, everyone. Welcome back to A World Between. So, Ellen and Eileen, I have a question. Do you remember back in the day, there was a song by New Edition that was like, "You're not my kind of girl. You're the kind of girl that every man dreams of, but you're not my kind of girl."
You're not my
I
kind
love
of
that song. Yes.
Yeah, I know that
Yeah,
song.
so I remember we was always dancing, but the reality it was like, how can she have everything but nothing? Um,
Right.
so
Right. Everything but nothing I
But
want. Okay,
but
right. But
nothing
right.
I'm
I
not gonna
want.
pick her. Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. I never understood the song, but yeah.
Yeah, so today that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to get into the desires of men, what they look for women, and what if you are a woman who is, to quote a separate show, high value, high functioning. What if you are a person who looks good on, if you're a woman who looks good on paper, but you're still not chosen? What does that look like, and how do we move forward as Black women? I'm Elise, realtor, entrepreneur.
And I'm Eileen. I am a entrepreneur, HR professional, and artist.
And I'm Ellen. I am an attorney, professor, and I'm gonna go ahead and put in writer. I
Welcome to A World Between, episode 4. You're not my kind of girl.
Turn up the volume, man. Welcome to the scene where we talking about the streets and what's in between. Race, politics, the culture, and community.
So I'm going to start with a story about a guy that I met on Black Planet. And I know that I am aging myself talking
Planet
about meeting a
girl.
guy on Black Planet, but I met a guy on Black Planet. And in throughout our many conversations, he made a statement to me that I thought was interesting. And what he said was, "Your math is good. Any man would want to be in a relationship with you." Um, and so I wanted to ask you, have you ever heard of relational math? And um, what do you think about a person who says that um, your relational math adds up, but you're still single?
I never heard that,
I'm
Elise.
sorry, me either.
I
Look,
don't know what.
I'm being honest. I've never heard that before.
Basically, what he was saying was that, you can have 1 + 1 = 2, but if you have someone with good relational math, it's a multiplication uh, equation as opposed to an addition equation.
Hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
It was one of those,
Real
what do you call them?
cerebral, but
Hotep. It was one of those Hotep Grand Rising
okay. All right.
kind of
Okay.
guy. His name was Hakeem somebody.
But I've heard men say that what women think is amazing, what they think that they have to offer, some guys are like, that didn't impress me. You know what I'm saying? I mean, so who are we going by? What women think or what men think or a combination of both?
I don't know, but I'm
Well,
not trying to impress anybody. I'm just myself. You know what I'm saying?
I think like there was a time period when men were saying, "I want a Proverbs 31 woman." And that was like the thing. I want a Proverbs 31 woman. And if you know what a Proverbs 31 woman is, she's a lot of things. She's an entrepreneur, she's a mother, she takes care of her household, she owns real estate, she purchases real estate, she does a lot of things. And even in that our more recent conversation, there's this thing where men are always saying, "Well, what do you bring to the table?" So to that degree, I think it's obvious that men want something, but to your point, what is that something? And us presenting our resume to them, does that qualify as the something?
It shouldn't, but they
So,
think that. I don't know. Let me just be honest. I feel like I never lead with who I am and what I do. I do in this podcast because it's a podcast, right? But men know what I do. When they ask, I'll say, "Oh, I do this or I do that or whatever." So I don't know a lot of women and who just lead with their resume. Like, why would you lead with your resume in a romantic encounter? You know what I mean?
Well, I don't know if you could say the word resume, but a lot of women will say, okay, so what is it that you do? What do you bring to the table? And I really hate that question, but some women will say, well, I have a degree, I have this, I have that, and this is, and they're like, okay, but what do you bring to the table? So a degree doesn't mean anything. I mean, it's a great accomplishment. I mean, it means a lot, but what I'm saying, when a guy typically asks, they're asking how are you going to invest in this relationship. That's kind of like what they're saying, and it goes both ways, but how's a degree going to invest in the relationship that you're trying to build with someone? That's what they're asking. What skills do you bring? That's what they're asking.
Do you have that? Are you saying that because you've talked to men and they say that's what they're asking? Because I
Hmm.
don't know if I agree with that.
Yeah, I've actually asked a guy, and I remember this one guy I talked to, and I met him online, and he was like, when I told he asked me what about me, and he was like, "Well, I really don't want a PhD person." I go, "What? What are you saying?" I don't want, because I said I have a master's. This guy, I don't want a PhD person. I go, okay, but that's not what I led with. But he was saying he didn't want someone that's gonna be super busy and not being able to, answer his calls, or when he's ready to go out, I'm just ready. I go, well, I'm not the person for you then. But yes, that's I talked to some men who are successful, and they say they don't care. That's not what they're looking for. So when you answer that question, what do you bring to the table, and you say I have a degree and I have this, that's not what they're looking for. That's my
No one's ever
experience.
asked me that. Again, I don't. Where are these men and when are they asking this? Maybe I've been out of the game for so long. I have not dated in a long time. Is this something post pandemic? This is all new to me, so I'm confused.
So, so for me, I'm not dating. I've not been, but I do pay attention because it's all over the socials. This is relationships is one of the top hot topics of the socials everywhere. So for me, if someone were to ask me what did I bring to the table, I probably wouldn't offer anything because to me, that question makes me question, well, it depends on what the table consists of, right? Because for me, if whatever I think I bring to the table, it's just like if somebody invites you to a potluck and they don't give you a list of what is needed at the potluck. So then everybody brings the what are those, the deviled eggs, and now you got 99 versions of deviled eggs. To me, when a person asks that question, I really feel like they don't have an idea of what their purpose is. They don't have really good leadership skills, because I feel like if you know as a man where you're going and you're a leader, you would be observing me to see what I bring to the table and not asking me what I bring to the table. So I feel like I wouldn't have to lead with my resume, because if someone asked me that question, I would just come, it would turn me off anyway.
It
So
would turn me off too, even though I know what they're coming. Because to me, that's a question that you've heard other people say that, and you watch a specific person, and you got that from them. You didn't make that up on your own. So yeah, I would be offended if they asked me that off the bat, because I'm like,
And
I
I
know
think
what.
it's meant to basically make you prove your worth. And if we're talking about the socials, I feel like social media is infiltrated with a lot of people with archaic relationship advice. We talk about the red pill, blue pill. I feel like the words that we use, like high value, low value, that comes from those podcasts of men talking about women, namely Black women, and what they will and won't take. I feel like we get a lot of our relationship issues or concerns from those, not us per se, but I'm saying it's on social because those are like buzz words, viral things. But prior to that, when I think about when I was dating actively in my 20s, 30s, and even before the pandemic, no one came up to me or even said things like, what do you bring to the table? I've never heard that. I think that's just something that people are talking about now.
But then the other side to this is that when you say in the past, where did black men go to vent about relationship? Like if you remember when we came up, Oprah Winfrey was our thing. Like she talked about relationships all the time, but it was only from a black woman's perspective. Even think about Ebony, Jet, it was black women. So uh, I'm just playing devil's advocate here because when you say that, where did black men go to voice their opinion? Where did we hear that black men had, concerns? Or most of the time, people would say, "Oh, they've been doing this forever at the barbershop." But who's at the barbershop? No black women, just black men.
Yeah, and from that point, I feel like, and I can only speak for my experience, but I feel like what's missing is that neither side, men or women, know what it takes to be in a relationship with one or the other. Um, and so we use the old formula. Well, we know that a woman should be able to cook. We know that a woman should be able to take care of her household. But I feel like how relationships have transformed, especially in the Black community, where there has to be more of a partnership. I don't know that we have ever been taught how to partner with men in a way that really kind of builds them and also allows us the space for them to build us.
I agree with that
Yeah.
because you can't. And I think this is just from what I see and what my experience has been and what I listen to. And I think the disconnect is we want to have a place in this world. We want to be married and have, families and this, but we also want to leave our mark outside of that. And how do you find that balance to cater to someone and be submissive to someone while they do that too, but we do that as well? Why are you found up like that?
Because
I'm
I'm
just
not
curious.
trying to be submissive to someone. Like I don't understand that. Why can't we be in a relationship together and be a team? Why can't we be teammates? Why do I need to be submissive to you?
Because you cannot have a situation, and you'll probably be like, oh my gosh, she's agreeing with Eileen, because you can't have it, because you cannot have a situation where you have a two-headed monster. It will literally be a two-headed monster if you're coming from the perspective of both of you are leaders. So the word submissive, submission, sub means to be under, and then you have a mission. But the problem is that if a man doesn't have a mission, and that's why I said it's like being invited to a potluck and they're not being specifics on what's needed, he doesn't understand what he needs in order for him to formulate his mission. So there is no mission. So he's asking you to submit to his ego versus asking you to submit to the mission. And then you get offended because who wants to submit to an ego? An ego is all over the place. But the reality is that there has to be a head and there has to be people under the mission. But the part that's missing is the actual mission.
Mission, right, right, right. Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay. I think
Come
that
on,
makes
come on, come on.
sense. Oh, okay. Because I feel like I deal with a lot of egos, and I say I deal with a lot. That's why I deal with a lot, but I think it's an ego thing, and I think when you are a Black woman who is confident in your thoughts and opinions, it's difficult with any type of person, any type of man. So even if like I don't necessarily date a whole bunch of educated men, which isn't successful, then educated. Would
What?
you say, Keita?
I
Go
didn't
ahead,
say
stop.
anything, but
No, what? Go ahead, say. I just, yeah, I don't know. I feel like I don't know what I think or what I feel. It's all confusing to me. I think dating is confusing. I think dating at a certain age is extremely confusing. I thought if you were, well rounded, had a nice job, were attractive, then that would be it. But it doesn't really seem like that's all it.
no.
Yeah, and I think too, we are coming from the perspective that we're and I'm saying as African Americans, we are conforming to a system that we didn't create. So the idea of family, what does that mean for us in the context of our culture? Because if you know look at it, we've always had to have dual income. There was no real way around it. Um,
You mean black women?
yeah, I mean, in the black family, there's always had to be dual income, whether the wife has taken in laundry, whether she went to go clean someone. We've always had to have that perspective of dual income. So to take on the template of the just American culture, the Western civilization, to say, okay, well, this is what a wife does and this is what a husband does, and the wife stays at home and then the husband, that has never been our reality, because we've always had to, if we wanted some level of normalcy in the family, we everybody had to work, everybody had to contribute, so that was never part of our thing. But I think what happened over time is that men took for granted that that was the template, that the man was the head and he was the leader. But while he was taking that for granted, we were doing all the things that we were supposed to do in order to elevate our family. So when it became possible for us to go to college and for us to get better jobs and for us to do all of those things, we did those things. And unfortunately, it has fared better for us. And now Black women are making more money. Women in general are making more money. And so now we're at a different place with men, and men are still expecting us to be a certain way, but not recognizing that our income is necessary for our lifestyle. The contribution of both incomes are necessary for our lifestyle.
So so I know I couldn't get the actual statistics, but there's this site called Black Demographics, and they say that it comes straight from the census. And when it talks about salary, the average, it doesn't, especially when it's a black woman that's the head of the household, it doesn't show her making more than the black man. So I'm not sure where that statistic comes from where it says that they're doing better, because if you think about it, if they're a single mom and they're making the same as a single black man, they can't be doing better economically because they have other.
And I'm not saying better, I'm
Mhm.
saying we're doing the things that are deemed as necessary for us to elevate our family. Our
Okay.
families have to have dual income
Okay.
in order for us to get to the actual, because we're talking about black men and black women. We are not talking about white family versus Asian family
Right.
versus
Of course.
Hispanic family.
Right.
And so when I'm talking about it, I'm talking from the perspective of the totem pole of, white America, Asian America, Hispanic America. We are still at the bottom, even though we're still at the bottom, and we still need to have dual income. If you
Correct.
look at a white family, they can have dual income or not.
Right.
But for
And still
us,
be
we
right.
have to have
How
dual
do
income.
right.
And
And
because of that, we're in a different, we're trying to have the American dream, and not understanding that we're not making that kind of money
right.
to experience to have to fit into that template. So we have to do something different, which means that the man cannot expect us to do bring in the income and take care of the family and take care of him and take care. It's a lot.
Right. I agree with you. I agree. But one of the things that we have to look at is some of this, I don't want to use the word self inflicted, but if we have women who are choosing to have families alone, they're going to struggle a lot more than if you pick if you pick the right husband, or if you pick, it's just, I mean, there's a part of this that we don't talk about when we talk about choices for women. Nicole, and I know that people don't agree with me on that, but we put ourselves sometimes in economical situations when we have three different kids with three different dads, and then the first two we know they weren't paying child support, but then you expect the third one to pay. So, and when you have children, like that, you are least likely to get married and have two dual income.
But here's the thing, and I get it because that's one of the concepts on social, pick better. But what do we what constitutes better? Because if on the other hand they say, well, you have to expect that your man's going to cheat. Okay? No, I'm just saying. That's
Hmm.
what the socials say. Most men cheat. That's what the socials are saying. I'm just saying. I'm not saying that it's
No,
true.
but I
I'm just
haven't heard
saying.
that. I've heard that rich men, if you're gonna date someone that's super rich like Cam, you're gonna have to be. That's what you put up with. But the average man, I haven't heard that they
And
cheat.
that's okay because for me, if you are Cam Newton, if you are whatever Eve's husband is, I'm not saying he's cheating, so don't even put them words in my mouth. But if
Right.
you are a wealthy man, at least be wealthy and make sure I'm comfortable so that I can turn a blind eye. Because I'm not going to turn a blind eye and I'm still expected to pay half the mortgage and I'm still expected to take care of the kids and I'm still expected to wash your dirty drawers and I'm not because I'm doing way too much to turn a blind eye. You ain't adding enough to the table for me to turn a blind eye.
This show is to talk about men picking and the kind of women that they want to pick from, and you picking, being chosen, right?
Right. And then we were saying that men say they want a woman who brings something to the table, or they want somebody who has their stuff together so they can be, together and have this lifestyle. But that doesn't necessarily happen. Um, I don't see, I think men don't necessarily, they say they want that, but they don't really want that.
But I've never heard. I mean, they say that they want. Okay, I can't be an expert because I'm not a man, but I've heard men say that they want someone who is cooperative, friendly, and fit. That's it.
And what?
Fit.
And fit. Cooperative, friendly, and fit.
So to me, that's all ego though, right? Because cooperative only goes so far. So you want me to cooperate, but you're putting me in danger when you go sleep with another woman by way of we could possibly contract a disease, by way of you could possibly get her pregnant, by way of she could be standing outside in my front yard yelling, "That's my man." You want me to you want me to collaborate, but or be cooperative, but you're putting me in a position where I can't agree. You want me to be friendly, but you're also expecting me to bear part of the weight. Fitness, we talked about that last week. That's part of your, own personal physical wellness, and you take that. But I want those things too. I want you to be fit too. I want you to not have a stomach so that when we hug and my arms are stretched out. I want that too. But I think that all of those things are superficial and they don't really get to the meat and potatoes of what it takes to have a true partnership. And I don't know if I ever told you, but I know a lot of women who had arranged marriages. I don't know what was going on in my life, but every woman at one particular time in my life, I was meeting a whole bunch of women and they all had arranged marriages.
Hmm.
And the concept of, do I love this person, obviously wasn't there because they didn't know the person. And then somebody else was picking based on what that woman needed. It was always about what the woman needed, not necessarily what the man needed. The man needed to be married. The man needed to have someone who was going to um, further his legacy. That's the biggest thing, to have kids, to further my legacy, and to take care of the household. But in all of those situations, these women also had their own um, things that the man also helped them to develop in themselves. And so I talked to one lady, and she said, "Well, the thing was that at first you we weren't committed to each other. We were committed to this idea of what we wanted our family to look like." And I think that to some degree, we don't have that idea of what like, say, for the instance, what's the mission? We don't have an idea of what that looks like. And so we're picking people based on more superficial things, and then they can't perform in the mission.
Yeah, and it's been my experience that people pick people who make life easier for them. When I say people, men. So a man may say, "Oh, I want a woman who can, cook, who can contribute to the household, who I can have stimulating conversations with, who I can learn things from, and we can teach each other." But then they pick women who aren't any of those things, but they allow them to do what it is or live the way that they want to live. So if I don't want to pay for dates, I'm going to pick somebody who's willing to pay for half on dates. So it's convenient for their lifestyle and whatever it is that they want. It has really nothing to do with the woman.
And there's certain type of men that are like that. That's the same as, I don't know if you ever watched that show. What's that? It's like Prison Love,
Like
Love
the
After Lock.
lockup.
Yeah. And these men are selecting women who will put money on the books, who, makes the inside of prison life easier. But as soon as they get out, that's not who they're choosing. They'll stay with them because it was convenient and easy for them. But that's not who they're end up they get married to. It's somebody else. So I I mean, I know that's not the norm, but I think, like you said, there are certain men who do that. They pick for whatever's the low hanging fruit, the easiest. But those are not necessarily men that you really want to be with.
No,
They're
right,
not.
right. But you
And,
feel like, well, maybe the man could appreciate. Well, that's not the case.
What?
That's not the case. Well,
What?
you should appreciate. No,
What?
that's
and
probably not the way to go. Why are you laughing, Nikita? That's not the way to go into it. So you're right. So again, maybe the question is, what kind of men are we choosing to try to be with, let alone what they say that they want? Because they can say everything, but your actions show what you really want. So I guess for us as women, our actions, if I say that I want to be with someone who I'm equally yoked with, who I can listen to and can teach me, it's hard to use the word submissive. I don't know
But he may
why.
not right. But the thing is, he may be 5 feet 5.
Okay.
He may be 5 feet 5. He may not be 6 feet. You know what I'm saying? But
I
I'm
agree. I think the older you get, the more you have to be more realistic. I mean, I don't think we're superficial as we get older. I You just want a nice person, somebody who you can, talk to, somebody who can build with, whatever that looks like for you. What are you thinking? Why are you doing this?
I'm not doing
Oh,
anything.
okay.
I think that that brings us to the point of men who have a female or a woman as a best friend. So why don't they ever, and I know it's two people in a relationship, but in some cases, in a lot of cases, the female best friend creates drama in the actual relationship. But I've also heard that a lot of men simply get to a point where they just don't like their wives, their partners. So why do you think men who have women as best friends don't actually, and I asked my son, so I want y'all to answer too, but why do y'all think that men don't pick the woman that's their actual best friend if we say that we want to be married to our best friend?
I think because this is my opinion, because they're not attracted to them as much. They're not attracted to them. That's why. Because if a man really wants to be with you, he will. I mean, that's just. But there's something that he's not attracted to. It may not be physical. It may be your personality. Something, but something I feel like he's not attracted to.
But see, I think that's where the superficiality comes in. Like, so what my son answered was totally different. What my son answered was that this woman knows everything about me. And I said, exactly. I said, but more importantly, you also know everything about her. And one of the things that I feel is challenging in a relationship is that you don't know how people are going to react when they are met with certain stimuli. And so then you're in a relationship where, okay, let's say for instance the guy experiences a loss in his family, maybe someone really close to him passes away. Well, who is he going to have that conversation with? That's a level of intimacy that you really should be sharing with your wife.
Yeah.
But a lot of times what happens is he's they're more vulnerable with that person. They may tell their wife, they may share with their wife, but the real level of vulnerability they're sharing with the other woman, and that's where it creates the havoc in the relationship, because that true intimacy that he's experiencing it with someone else who already knows how you're going to respond when you have trials and tribulations. Because as your friend, I've been looking at you when you've had, not been able to get the job. I've been looking at you when you've had loss. I've been looking at you when you're angry, and I always know how, and I know how you're going to respond to that, and therefore I know how to respond to you. And I think that when we're talking about a marriage situation, that's one of the challenges. We just don't really know how to cater to a man when he is in his place of vulnerability. Um, so that's why I'm saying, why not marry your best friend? The whole "I'm not attracted to you," that's superficial. And all the women that I know who are in arranged marriages, guess what? They don't have sex early in the relationship because there's not that attraction. That attraction comes from the intimacy.
Right. That, and I agree with that. But I used to date a guy, and his best friend was a woman, and I always felt really strange about it because I'm like, how are we going to get close in this? But anyway, we broke up, and he ended up marrying or being engaged to that girl, but it didn't work out because something was
Yeah.
lacking. So
Ellen, you also mentioned in one of your comments about being equally yoked.
Mhm.
Um, and I know that we talk a lot about that from a religious perspective, but it has a lot to do also with your mindset,
Mhm.
um, your character, what you see as the future. And as I said before, agreeing on a shared mission or purpose. So,
Yeah, I think that people definitely need to be, when as I get older, because as you get older, and if you're single and if you desire to be with someone on some level, then you would want to be with someone who has similar interests, who has similar. I think values to me are the most important things. Basic values. If you're someone who is a Christian, you can't be with an atheist, or if you're someone who values health and wellness, you really can't be with someone who does not put that first. So I think the issue, we started talking about what men say that they want, really it's what we say that we want. Because if we are in places and spaces with people who have those values, then you aren't going to necessarily have those same types of issues. I'm thinking.
Yeah, and there's such thing as people who are time wasters. Like
Mhm.
if you know what your intent is, like if your intent is just to have a good time and I really don't want to get married, I just want to, have fun or whatever, then
Live,
would you say?
live day by day. Just get
Right.
through it.
Right. But if you're someone where you really want to have something meaningful and marriage is the goal, then that's when you have to ask yourself, is this somebody I connect with that I can see myself with? When if they're sick and you the answer is no, then why are you wasting each other's time? But
But even at our age, is marriage the goal always? I think you should still want those same things, even if marriage isn't the goal. I don't want to waste my time for meaningless fun. Do I? I want to have a connection. I don't. I'm saying I don't. I
I'm
do.
like, what is the goal?
That wasn't rhetorical. Let me just say, I do not. I want meaningful connection, no matter if we get married or not. I just don't want to be having fun just
I
to
don't.
be.
Sometimes I want to eat the ice cream. I don't want to eat the steak or potato. I just want. I just want the cookies and the cake. I don't care
Right,
about the rest of
you
that.
get kid about
Yeah, but after a year of the same ice cream and it's just that, you want to probably go to a different, you know what I'm saying? Different restaurant. Maybe you want some pie. Maybe you want some cake. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I think you have to be really intentional with who you are connecting with. I think for us, I mean, I think we start off saying this show is about one thing, but I think really it's about us realizing, me, is I have to be intentional about what it is I say that I want, who I spend my time with. I feel like my relationships are deeply connected. My friendships are not just fair weather friendships. They are worth something, and I value that, and I would want that in a romantic relationship as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes a lot of a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, at my age, I can't do what I did even 10 years ago. I just don't, you know, just moving
I
on to
can do
women.
all the things that I did 10 years ago.
Oh.
Okay, well, you do? Okay. Well, you kind of from a different space. You need that. And everybody, and we've had that, but, I just don't. We were watching, and I can't believe I'm bringing this man up, Umar, talking about pleasure contracts. He was saying that
Mm,
there are people who are in relationships, but they really are in pleasure contracts. They go on
right.
vacation together, they go out to
Mm.
dinner, they do all this fun stuff, but they're not really building, they're not working toward building a life together. They're not working toward making that other person better. I feel like even with our friendship, at least, and even with my sister, we're constantly helping each other to achieve better for ourselves and for the people who are around us. I feel like your romantic relationships should do the same. You should help each other. You should be working toward common goals. You don't think so, Alice?
No, I agree. I guess what my mind was taking me to, though, is if I were a man, and I'm saying this because we're assuming that a man has gotten to 50 and he's looking for a relationship. The reality is if he's gotten to 50 and he's not had a serious relationship, he's really not looking for a relationship. The other thing is if he's gotten to 50 and he's not in a relationship because maybe he was divorced, he probably doesn't want to enter into a serious relationship again. So I think realistically, women in our age group and men in our age group are in our same age group might be looking for two very different things. Um, I think where we as women are focusing on peace and just having, a good time, maybe we need to understand that maybe that's really all we're going to get. Me personally, I'm okay with because I've never been the kind of person that I need a man in my space all the time. I'm
Mhm.
okay if, we are, cool Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I'm probably more okay with that than most people. I wouldn't want to be in a marriage that way because a marriage has a different level of commitment. But as far as dating, I think that it's okay. But
But do you have to be
mo-
equally with that person? That's all you want? A Monday, Wednesday, and Friday? Does it matter?
well, I- and then I guess that comes to mind. Well, there's a couple of things that come to mind. The first thing is if men don't want if men just really want someone to be fit, to be friendly, to be cooperative, what's the use in us actually, especially if you want to be married? If that's your goal, what's the point of us doing anything other than learning what it means to attract and cater to a man? What's the point? What's the point in getting a degree? What's the point in having six-figure salary? What's the point? Um, and I say that the point is because we in our community can't have the $200,000 home, the $500,000 home, the $200,000 car unless both of us are doing it. That's the only way that it's going to happen. But if that's not what men actually want, then maybe for those women who want to be married, they need to think about a different perspective. And then the women who are more ambitious, like us, then maybe we want to look for a man that does appreciate a woman who is smart, a woman who is ambitious. We just have to look for something totally different, and
Different, yeah.
that's probably few and far between. And we have to think about what's more important.
Nikita?
Nikita, what? What?
Got it. What? I mean,
What?
you
What?
need.
But
What do you think my
ultimately,
name?
you got to know yourself. I think the most important thing is to know yourself, and I don't know that I don't know that we really know ourselves. It's kind of like buying a car. You say you want a white car till you realize how much it takes to clean it. You say you want just a car with regular power windows, and then you spend a winter and you're like, oh no, I need heated seats. And then you say you so it's kind of like that. You don't know what you need until you experience something that you don't like.
Yeah. But Nicole, remember how when the car broke down, we said this is how we really feel like you don't have a man when you got issues with your car, you
I
know.
said I never have felt more single than when my car broke down last week, a week before last. Yeah. So what's the point you're trying to make, Nikita?
So I feel like we as women we know ourselves. We know that we want to be connected to someone. Now the question is how? Is it marriage? Maybe not. Maybe it is. I don't know. But
It definitely is, but I find it difficult.
difficult how? I've already given you what I think you should do.
Just
So
tell
what
me. Go ahead.
I already
I'm
told you what
listening.
you have to. I mean, I never would tell any woman that they need to dim their light. That is not what I say. I
You told me don't
say
be so smart.
no, I did not. I said don't be so quick to correct someone or to say, "Oh, you wrong for this or this." I mean, let people be who they are and then, you figure out if there's a connection there before you say, "Oh, then they're just not equally yoked because they don't have a JD or this." I didn't say you do that. I never said you did that. I'm saying just tone it down. You know how in the morning how
Tone
you're
what down?
extra
Like
10, just be
tone
like a
my
7.
personality down? I can't help who I am.
Nicole, I didn't say you could
I
you
know.
but don't be
I
one of
just
those women that
curious.
said, "Oh, I if a guy can't handle me, he just can't handle me." Why should somebody have to handle you? We're
Do I
not
say
living.
that?
Sometimes I've
I do.
heard you say that. I've heard you say that.
So can I
No,
add to
you're
that
right though.
because I have had a man tell me this has like been the biggest thing for me for the past couple years. I have had a lot of my close guy friends tell me you're too smart and you have to have a man who is smart and you need to tone that down. And at first I was offended, but to your point, Eileen, they're not saying be stupid. What they're saying is don't be so quick. Like I can make a judgment about a person without letting them know that I'm making a judgment about them. So to your point, instead of correcting them, if we get to 5 hours worth of conversation and you're saying, I really liked it, you, or I really liked it that, and I know that's gonna annoy me, instead of me correcting him all the time, I can just make a judgment. Okay, I'm probably not going to like to continue, or I'm going to have to find other valuable things about him because there's just, we're not going to be able, I'm not going to be able to have a conversation. So you're right. I think that it comes in how we correct versus allowing the man to be who he is and then just deciding that that's not where I want to bring my toys.
And let me just say this. I I'm not saying you guys saying that I do this. I don't correct people's grammar. People say, "Oh, I'm afraid to talk to you because you're an English teacher, or you do this, or you are, or you're a lawyer, so you're gonna." I don't do that. I don't correct people. I don't tell people when they're wrong.
And I'm
Me,
not saying you, I'm not
I know
talking
you don't.
about
I know.
you. I'm
No,
talking
I'm not
about
saying. But
me.
the point I'm making is that people assume that that's how you are when they learn what your background is, and nobody. I don't lead with my background. I said people make assumptions about me based on when they meet me, and so those are the things that they'll start assuming. You disagree, Keita?
Yeah, I agree with you. I've never you correct me all the time. But
Yeah, I was
um
gonna say I correct people. I used to correct people all the time. Now I don't care.
yeah. But I don't I mean, I hear what you're saying, Nicole. I have never heard you correct anybody other than me. So I'm not saying you as a general,
Well,
but I'm saying
sister.
but
Huh?
and what a little we're the same age. But one of the things you have to remember is that as women, I get it. I know for me, I want to be with someone that I admire and look up to. That's just my thing. You have to be somebody that you have something in you that I want, that I'm like, ooh, I need that trait or something. And like I met someone who had this great business. I mean, when I say this business was flourishing, but he used profanity. And I had to tell him, I've never dated anyone that uses as much profanity as you do. And he really made an effort not to, use profanity. But it didn't work out that much. But they tried. You know what I'm saying? I gave them the opportunity to try to be what it is that I needed them to be, but they couldn't. But that's all I'm saying. That's all
And
I'm saying.
ultimately, I don't think, I mean, I guess there are some women who do position themselves as wanting to change a person, but I think ultimately we don't want to change you. So if that is who you are, and again, it comes back to self mastery. If I'm saying, hey, this is what I need, and it's too hard for you to make that transition, then for me, I feel like it's just best that we not be together because it's always going to be a sore spot for me. And then it's going to be resentment on his part because he's changing all these things just to satisfy me. But I can admit I have been the one to correct men. I have been the one to correct English. I was very bad at it. Um, but then, after talking to my friends, and we had this huge argument, and it came down to why do I have why is it important for me to make sure he knows the finer points of these things? Because it's not going to we're not making a decision based on this conversation. We're unless it's about, are we buying a house or we're doing, something that's going to be a sticking point, me arguing about, whether custard is ice cream or not, and the science of making custard, and it's irrelevant. So I did have to learn, okay, I can be smart, but I don't need to use put that card out for everybody. Now, if I'm talking to a man who is equally as smart, then it comes down to I am looking up to him. So I don't even have the desire to do that because I'm so enamored by
Right.
how intelligent he is.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well, I hear what you guys are saying, but it has been my experience that men will say they'll want certain things, and then just completely go with the complete opposite of what they said that they were all about. So it's confusing to me. I mean, really, it is. Really.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah.
And it can be confusing, especially when they don't pick you, but then they call you to be their source of strength.
Or
Yeah.
to talk about the things that they say that they're really into, but be with someone.
Who doesn't do those things?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all can say we've been there, done that, because they say they want someone that's like a good girl or this, but then they end up marrying someone that's nothing like what they said they wanted. So I agree.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. And ultimately, I just think that we should just get to a point where we know who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And if it is a man who is for us, he will see us for who we are, and we don't have to change anything about ourselves. And I think that that's ultimately, regardless if I'm his kind of girl or not, he's not my kind of guy because he doesn't see me for who I am.
There you
I
go.
agree.
You just said.
I agree, at least. Great closing.
Way to wrap it up, right?
Yeah. So
You guys be sure to like our Facebook group. Also like this show and subscribe to our channel. We're still getting started, but we have some more topics that we can't wait to talk to you guys about. Thanks for listening.
thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
Son of Fly, man, welcome to the scene where we talking about the streets and what's in between. Race, politics, the culture and community. A world divided, but this ties the unity. Entertainment.